hello, hi, and welcome to and or back to the Jet Rail Podcast. I'm your host, Jill Treese, and on this week's episode, I have quite a few of your questions to answer, some issues to address, and some things to go over. My cats have decided that while they have not eaten all day, that now is the time to start crunching as loud as possible next to me. But hopefully that will stop eventually, and then we can get on to this episode. Can you hear that? Jeez. So loud. You know what? Let's play loud music. 3, 2, 1, go. After a listener sent me an email, I got to thinking and deliberating over my last episode, and after reading that email, I realized I was far too flippant about what I was saying about ADHD and meds and things of that nature. And apparently it came across like I was hating on medication. And I think why that happened is because people are so quick to think that you just want Adderall because it's like a stimulant and it's like meth, but it's not meth. It comes with a stigma. And I know a lot of people in college take it, to study and cram for exams and stuff like that. And there's just this stigma around it that, like, nobody really needs it. And I felt a little bit, I guess, like, defensive, like I was trying to get ahead of the curve. But in no way whatsoever was I trying to downplay taking medication or shame it or make it seem like, I'm just being so all over. Like, I try to keep the podcast light, and because I personally have a bit of an issue with taking the medication all the time. This will likely be my first episode on it. But it, I don't know. I don't know. I like my brain. And when I say that, that is not to imply that if you, like your brain, you can't take medication. Because I also like my brain when I'm on Adderall. And, it's actually, what is it called? It's called D-amphetamine salt compound. So I have the off-brand kind because I have awesome American insurance. But it is really working for me. And it's been an incredible change. Like, I still feel like me. There's a little bit less noise. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of bit less noise. I'm able to concentrate and focus, and my brain is quiet, and I can do tasks for long periods of time and actually get them done instead of bouncing all over the place. So, I feel so bad because I feel like I unintentionally made it sound like using or taking prescribed medication for mental health solutions was wrong. And that's not what strictly it was coming from the defense that literally everyone in my life, my therapist and my family were all like, you just want speed. And I was like, what? No. I was like, I don't even hardly drink. Like, maybe once in a blue moon I'll drink, and I don't smoke or do anything like that. And I just am not a person that enjoys getting high. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying it to hopefully provide some evidence to the fact that I did not go out of my way just to, get prescribed a drug. That wasn't the deal. It is because I have ADHD and, I've just been a little bit invalidated. So please forgive that, that reaction. That was not well thought out, and it could have been handled better. And again, in no way was I saying that you can solve your problems without medication or you should ignore your doctor and their directives. I feel like maybe ADHD medicine, I could be totally wrong. I am not an authority figure on this. And while I am studying psychology, I do not have all of the information. I feel like ADHD meds is one of those things that, like, it doesn't have to be taken all the time to work. Whereas from my understanding, depression and, anxiety meds, it depends. Oh God, I had a bug on my shoulder. I have gnats in my house. It's very annoying. But I feel like anxiety meds, at least when I took them, it was kind of like a case-by-case thing, not an all-day, everyday thing. But I do know people who are on some, and it like your body has to acclimate to it. And if you get off of it, you have to, take you have to microdose out of it. And, or what is that? I don't know what you call that. Wean off of it. That's the word. That wasn't to say that I think that everybody just needs to take their medicine whenever they feel like they need it. That's not it, nor did I mean to shame anybody that does have to take medication for some solutions with things that they've got going on with their mental health. I think that my response, like I said, came from a place of feeling like I have to over-justify everything because nobody believed me and they just said that I was overreacting or being dramatic, which as a woman, I love that. Or that I just needed to meditate more. And I was like, okay, so with that logic, we would tell somebody with anxiety to chill and depression to think positively. It doesn't work like that. And and I'm not advocating for not taking medicine. Obviously I'm on it. I think it's helped me so much. Like the first day that I took it was like I accomplished and made all of my appointments and my homework and did everything that I'd been putting off for 3 months. It was like I finally just broke past that barrier and got everything done, and then I could relax and like watch a movie and chill. And it's been really nice. I do like to not be on it all the time though, just because it does have some side effects of like kind of like lightheadedness, and sometimes I feel like I get in the zone too hard and I like forget that I'm living. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know what you would call that, but I just like get so in work mode I forget that I'm me, and it's a little unsettling. I feel like I'll get used to it, but also it makes me super dehydrated, and I have a really hard time staying hydrated anyway because I sweat like a mofo. So that's me, sweaty Gil. But yeah, so I will be drinking water frequently throughout this podcast because it dries out my mouth really bad. So for those reasons, and I feel a little bit, this is what I would assume most people feel like. It's very chill, relaxed, but at the same time, I feel a little bit foggy because my brain is normally on like high drive, which I don't know, maybe somebody who's neurotypical, obviously I would never know because I can't experience a neurotypical brain, but like, I feel like that would be like heightened anxiety maybe, or just like too much all at once. But for me, like, and I'm not saying that one brain is better than the other. Obviously it is all about preference. And I obviously, if I had grown up without ADHD, I would probably prefer that brain over the ADHD one. It is all about relativity, and I grew up being a certain way, and that is what I'm most comfortable with, and that's where I feel like I'm me. But I mean, I really don't feel like being on Adderall. It's Adderall XR, by the way. It's like the extended release, so I just have to take one in the morning. The other problem that I do have with it is sleeping is not going well. I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast, but like a few years ago, I think it was like the summer that I first moved out here, a lady was boarding her horse and she asked me to get on him. Long story short, did not tell me the horse hadn't been ridden in 10 years, and it threw me, rightfully so. I thought she'd been riding it because I'd seen her on her other horses. I didn't know. She told me he would like throw a little crow hop every now and again. She did not tell me he bucked like that, and he bucked and did a quarter horse spin. I ride thoroughbreds. I am not prepared for that. And so obviously he dumped me, and I hit the ground and hit my head and got a concussion. And from then on, could not sleep. And it was like the most mild of mild concussions. Like they were like, probably you'd have got one. And I was like, cool, I'll run with that. Could not sleep. And it wasn't even a placebo. I had no idea that was a side effect of concussion until I looked it up after the fact. But oh my God, I could not sleep. And like, it was bad. I was waking up just about every other hour because it would take me another hour to fall back asleep. And then I would wake up the following hour. Like, It was so bad. Like I would get in bed at like 11 and then it would take me until 12 to fall asleep, and then I might sleep until 1 and then I'd be up, and then I'd take me until 2 to fall asleep, and then I would wake up at 3, and it was so frustrating. I remember like screaming all the time in the middle of the night because I was so mad at my body because my brain just wouldn't shut off. It was so frustrating, and I finally got it under control where it only takes me about like 30 minutes to fall asleep now. I've done a lot of, like, I guess it's meditation. It's kind of like mindfulness, just like focusing on a story or one thing and concentrating on it really hard. My brain or mind still wanders, and like I think about 8,000 different things while I'm doing that one, but I bring myself back to it. And every time I get a little bit more tired, every time I have to redirect back to the story. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but wow, being on Adderall, I am just like, I just lay there most of the night. I don't put my phone in my room anymore because I would get on it, or it would light up, and that bothers me. I have to sleep with pitch black darkness all the time. But yeah, so that's really the biggest issue that I've had with it, I think, is just not being able to sleep. And that's not to say that everyone would react that way. Everyone reacts to medications differently. And if you are considering getting tested for ADHD, don't let any of the things that I have said make you shy away from using it. Because, I mean, I haven't stopped. I don't feel like I'm being too sleep deprived. I have noticed an increase in how often I wake up. And I'm going to have a conversation with my doctor about that. But I really don't want to get on, like, sleep medicine because I'm really tired during the day already. So I don't know if that would mess with that or not. I mean, that's just going to have to be a doctor conversation, but, and I don't know. I don't know. I feel really bad about, because, as the person mentioned in the email, like I am studying clinical mental health counseling, and therefore am somewhat of a authority figure on psychology and mental illness, and I just feel really bad for just absolutely butchering the previous episode and just not really being tactful in how I handled it. I hope this one is better, and yeah, I don't know. I hope it provides some context as to why I said what I said as well. Like that it's been a few years now of me trying to convince the people around me, and they're like, oh my God, no, you just talk a lot. Doesn't mean you have ADHD. No, you can't concentrate. Well, it's because you don't want to. Like things like that. And it's just really frustrating. And so that episode purely came from a place of, like just feeling like I had to justify why I was on meds and like saying that, oh, I'm not going to take them all the time to like prove a point that like I'm not like doing it because I'm addicted to like substances or anything like that. And so like that was my own personal issues that I brought into that. So I apologize. That is not what I meant to say. Again, if I made anybody feel bad or shameful or like you should stop taking your medicine, dear God, I hope not. I just really did not think about it, and I sincerely apologize for that. That said, I think I'm going to take a drink of water because, wow, my mouth is dry. It's normally not so bad, but today I was out in the sun working with ponies, and then I took a break and then did a bunch of work inside, and then I went and worked with more ponies and got sweaty again, and my body is just like, what is hydration? And I'm drinking tons of electrolytes, and it still does not stick in my body. But yeah, okay, so let's move right along. I hope I covered that. Please let me know if you're still, kind of like confused or like want to double check what I meant about something, or if I said something off-putting again, please let me know, because I really do try to be aware and not, because like this podcast is me being honest and, vulnerable, talking about things that, are maybe a little bit scary to talk about. So be nice to me, but at the same time, call me out if I do something that's not cool, because I need to be corrected, and I can't grow if I don't know. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Anyway, so moving right along, that was a very convincing opening to get you to support me on Patreon. Let me just talk for 10, 15 minutes about why I've screwed up and then pay me. But yeah, so I do want to encourage you guys to check out my Patreon. If you are able to support, I have $5 through $35 tiers. All offers different benefits, from asking a training question to multiple, to getting full-on training advice in a video, private phone call. Any and all of those things can be done on Patreon. If you become one, you can become one for a month and then cancel your subscription if you would like. I recommend doing it at like day one of the month, because there's like this upfront fee. So if you want to become a patron for, say, this month, it's July 13th. So, I mean, maybe you could still feel like you get the month's worth, especially since the first live Q&A hasn't happened yet, which I will talk about in a moment. But what was I going to say? Hey, brain, come on. Okay, so if it's like the 26th of July, I wouldn't recommend getting it then. As a frugal person myself, I would wait until the 1st of August, because then you'll just pay for the whole month and you won't just like double pay, you know? So you won't pay for 4 days of July and then have to pay again on August. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that is my tip for you friends. But I do want to say, we're not too far into July yet, so you could get it now and then join the first live Q&A. So this is unlocked for the $10 and up tier. So if you just want to watch the Q&A, but you don't, and participate in it, but you don't want to continue paying $10 a month, you can cancel your subscription after the Q&A. You'll just pay for this month, and then next month you'll either not have a subscription, or you can lower it to the $5 one, or whatever you want to do. Totally up to you. You guys, you don't have to like commit to anything, you know, supporting long term. If you just want to do it once, that's totally okay. As I'm a college student, so I get it. I am broke, and I've had so many of you guys email me and be like, I'm saving up for a horse, but I really want to support you on Patreon. I'm going to try for next month. And I was like, no. You save up for your horse. Do not worry about me. Only if you're able. It's not a big deal at all, but we do have fun things going on. So anyway, this Q&A, geez, stay on topic. The Q&A is, it's going to be through YouTube, and I will post a link on Patreon. It'll be an unlisted link, so only patrons, the $10 tier and up patrons, will have access to that link. So nobody else, if you go to my YouTube channel while it's happening, you will not see it, because you will not have the link. So going to be unlisted and available to $10 tier patrons only. And if you want to become one, you can go to patreon.com/JetRailPodcast. It's linked in the description of this podcast if you want to go there, or on my website, JETEquiTheory.com. You can find it there. But I am looking at the poll right now, because I did a poll on Patreon, because I know how to do that. And I'm very proud of myself. So far, 86% of the votes are for Friday, July 17th at 5 p.m. So that's this coming Friday at 5 p.m. There you go. It's Central Time also, because I live in Arkansas. So if that works for you and you want to participate, then you can become a Patreon, or become a patron for this month. And then I will send out a message to everyone on the 17th, probably around 4, to remind you. And then it'll go at 5. And then you can ask me all of the questions you want. We'll go as long as I am physically able. And yeah, I think that sounds pretty good to me. So I hope that makes sense. Sorry that took so long to explain. I've never done this before, so I just wanted to inform you guys, but that would be a good place to get your training questions answered in real time, with me talking to you and watching me fumble through it and think on my feet, which is what I do on this podcast anyway, or me telling you I don't know, which would be really frustrating, and hopefully that will not happen. I try to at least have a brainstorm, but yeah, that way you wouldn't have to wait the whole week for the podcast for me to answer. But yeah, let's get into some questions. So the first thing that I want to say before we get into these questions is that if you become a patron of the podcast, which now is the only way that you can ask me training questions, by the way, message me on Patreon. Every single one of you so far have done that. Nobody's emailed me. And it pains me greatly to send people I've moved to Patreon and you have to pay me to answer your question now. I hate that more than anything in the entire world. And if you have received one of those emails, you've read it and you know how many times I'm like, I'm so sorry, I hate this, but I have to. I want everything to be, cohesive. Anyway, yes. So if you do become a patron and you have a training question to ask me, you don't have to wait. The second you become a patron, you can send me a message, and the following week I will answer your message from Patreon. So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Yeah, you can just, if you're a patron, even if you don't have a question, you can just send me a message in Patreon, and I will answer you. But it's important to note that if you're at the $5 tier, you are only allowed one question, and I have to check because those are the rules. I made them, but whatever. Had to entice people to pay $10 somehow because I like eating. Okay, on to the questions. I'm going to stop babbling. Holy shit, it's been 20 minutes. I'm so sorry. Okay. So I'm going to lengthen that out and take a swig of water, and then we're going to get into this. Okay. Patron Catherine asks, who is one of my favorite people ever, always very active on Twitter, and so kind and says the nicest thing and has been a big help with Kissing Spine for Zoe. And a lot of you keep asking about that too, and I keep saying that I do want to talk about it, but I have to figure out how I'm going to rehab it. And I've kind of been avoiding it because it's really overwhelming for me because once I start it, if I do a week of strength training, conditioning, muscle building, and then I take a week off, then I'm going to have to start over from the half point there. And I don't want to do that. I want to be consistent and keep her going. And I've been really busy lately, and it's just, I haven't been able to dedicate the emotional and mental bandwidth as well as physical because it is bloody hot here. So it will come eventually, but not yet. Okay. So anyway, patron Catherine, one of my favorite humans ever, asks, I know we've talked back and forth about the history with my horse and me, but for the sake of the podcast, I'll refresh. Bless you. My horse Seamus has had not the best experiences with training and has had some poorly fitted saddles in the past. He injured the ligament in his spine and then was diagnosed with kissing spine about 5 months ago now. We've been rehabbing and such, but haven't found a saddle perfect for him. Finally, I called in my saddle fitter. We weren't riding until 2 weeks ago, so it wasn't the issue as there wasn't any weight on his back other than the saddle itself. So he still gets nervous when putting the saddle on, but I've been working on that. Good on you. I should also mention that we are primarily Western, although I come from the hunter world. Recently, I did decide to switch to dressage to help me get out of my perching habit and help me into the best position I can be. Okay. When the saddle fitter put the first dressage saddle on him, he was stressed. About 15 seconds later, he starts yawning. He didn't stop for at least 5 minutes. It seemed to be releases of tension, but do you know if there are any other reasons for him to be yawning like that other than him realizing that the saddles don't hurt or pinch him? We test rode in them and he went really well, despite being apprehensive about me standing on the mounting block. He wants to back away. I am hoping that this is also a learned behavior. I'm just trying to stay in tune with him as I can. Any input would be great. Okay. So, believe it or not, I do have input. So Catherine, my dear, or Kat, that's what your Twitter is. I don't know which one you go by. You put Catherine on here, so I'm going to call you Catherine. So Yawning, actually, I have the book by Raquel Dreisma, and don't worry, you don't have to spell that. The book is not a very common title. You can get it on Amazon. That's what I did. I think it's like $20 or $30 or something. It's a little pricey, but it's full color and hardcover. It's called Language, Signs, and Calming Signals of Horses. And it talks a lot about stuff like this. It's kind of a dry read, but it's all very scientific and explains her study and the correlations she found and her hypotheses and blah, 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 blah. So yawning, by her definition, and I tend to agree, obviously it's contextual. So I'm going to say that first, that if a horse has his eyes half closed and a foot cocked and head almost touching the ground out in his pasture just snoozing and he yawns, it's likely because he's tired. Now, if there is a lot going on, there are horses running all over the place, going back and forth, in and out of stalls, and he's standing in the cross ties watching all of this, and he's yawning, it could be stress. Obviously, and the confusing thing about horses is because he could also have his head lowered and his foot cocked and look like he's super relaxed, but be really stressed. And it's the reason it's confusing is because horses are prey animals. With dogs, you always know when something is wrong. And they're predators, and they don't have to hide when they're weak or ill or sad. Horses are really good at hiding stuff. And so a lot of their stress behaviors actually look like, they're just normal, calm, relaxed ones. And I think that's why things get misconstrued so often. But I would say that if you are feeling that your horse is stressed, as you say, when the fitter put the dressage saddle on him, he got stressed, and then he started yawning. So I would hypothesize that there are two possibilities. I'm sure there are endless possibilities, but two that I can think of off the top of my head would be, one is transitioning to parasympathetic nervous system. So like you said, releasing tension. So when a horse is in their sympathetic nervous system, or when humans are, or anything is, it's your fight, flight, freeze response. That is when your adrenaline goes up and you get like, whoa, what is going on around me? And then what happens is your body shuts everything else off, like your unnecessary things, and focuses on the things that can help you run away or fight off an attacker. So like things like digestion don't need to happen when you're terrified. So that's often when horses are afraid. That's why they poop, because they are lightening their load, and their digestive system is likely going to shut off because they're concerned. And that's where we got our licking and chewing means learning thing from, which is the fact that people still think that's a thing baffles me, because there is so much evidence that is not. Who says who? Did the horse tell you it's learning? I think not. That's people putting words to it. Science has shown that when horses are licking and chewing, obviously if they have food in their mouths, that's not what I'm talking about. But if you, say, are doing join up and you're chasing them around the round pen, and then you let off the pressure and the horse lowers his head and starts licking and chewing, that is the horse is actually coming down a little bit because it was so previously stressed. And they lick and chew because their digestive system turns back on, and therefore they have saliva in their mouth, and they have to, get that under control. So if you've ever, like for me, for instance, on cross country, every time I would be in warm up and then I'd go into the start box, instant dry mouth. Like I felt like somebody had like just sucked all of the saliva out of my mouth. Sorry for that. Gross. But it was like just cotton mouth, so dry. And the second I got done, it was like it all turned back on. It was just because I was in like let's go mode. And so with yawning is a similar thing. It could be de-stressing, releasing tension, coming down from the sympathetic nervous system and trying to relax himself. It could also be a displacement behavior. That is also something that is intended to calm. The horses will do, like sometimes if you're standing on a lunge, or you have a horse on a lunge line, sorry, I'm so bad at talking today, and they rub their nose against their leg, and you're kind of noticing that they like do it every now and again. It's kind of like if you're in an elevator and you look at your phone because you don't want to talk to the other person next to you. It's not because you need to look at your phone or check the bus schedule or anything like that. It's because you're trying to ease the tension and make yourself feel a little bit more comfortable. And that is called a calming signal, which is actually what Dreisman's book is about. So if the tension is escalating for the horse, or trigger stacking, there's a lot of things going on. He's getting a little bit more and more triggered. He could be yawning to try and appease the quote unquote aggressor or whatever he's finding, to be potentially threatening or scary or unknown to him. It's kind of like, for instance, like if you're walking past a stranger on the sidewalk and you do that like little, I don't know, the derp face, like the white people smile. I think that's what the memers call it, the youth. So that is an appeasement behavior. It's to make yourself feel better, and it is to show that you are not a threat to anyone else, and it is to calm both of you. And there are endless calming behaviors, and that's also something else she talks about in her book, how you can tell if it's a calming signal versus just like a sign of being tired, is if it is in conjunction with other calming signals. It's normally not the first one a horse will do. They might lick and chew with their tongue out. They might have like wide eyes or worried triangle eyes. Their breathing might change. They might be fidgety. There are a bunch of other things that go into it, but some horses just totally shut down, and it can be a little bit difficult to tell. But I think the book does a really good job of talking about it. So, recap, yawning could either be a sign that the stress is increasing for him or it's decreasing for him, and he's calming himself down and kind of like talking himself out of it. That is anthropomorphic. I apologize, but it is applicable, I believe. But yeah, I really recommend that book, especially if you're somebody who is not really sure like what things that horses do mean. Like I said, I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit of a dry read. She like explains scientifically what each thing is. Like instead of just assuming you know what yawning means, she defines it, the operational definition. She also includes jaw stretch, which is different from yawning, but it still can be a calming signal. But all of this depends on context. And I can hear some people rolling their eyes going, oh my God, the horse is just doing its thing. It doesn't always mean it's anxiety. Well, you're wrong. You're not wrong. But horses they do tend to be a little bit of a stressful creature, and it's our job not to minimize that. It is not our job to tell the horse that it should get over it and that its fear is invalid, because like I said, back to the mental health thing, like telling people, oh, you're not anxious, you just need to calm down. You're not depressed. You just need to think happy thoughts. You don't have ADHD. You just need to stop being so lazy and pay attention. And we do that to our horses a lot in this industry, and it causes a lot of suffering to the horses. And while mental health and horses are not the same thing, there are a few parallels, and especially with just disregarding feeling and emotion. And I remember the first time I talked about all this with somebody, and I was just like, oh my God, we have to consider the horse's emotions. Like, I made fun of it, and now I think about that and I'm like, of course horses get scared, they get happy, they get excited, they get fearful and scared are the same thing. They get angry. They're like panskeps, core emotions or whatever. You can do research on that. I clearly have not, because I don't even know what it's called, but I know it's by Panskep. It's the emotions that at least horses are privy to. I know Connection Training, I think, has some videos on that, maybe on YouTube, or it might be private. But regardless, horses do have emotions. It is scientifically proven. And to disregard them is to be selfish, I believe. And I think by writing off like licking and chewing, oh, the horse is learning, that's a narrative that we made up to further our cause. If the horse is licking and chewing while he's running around the round pen after you've been chasing him, and you say, oh, he's coming down because he's been really stressed out, so much so that his digestive system shut off, it might rub you the wrong way to do join up. But if it's, oh, the horse is learning, he understood what I did just now, then you're more likely to do it again. It's all about cognitive dissonance, my dudes. You can't love the horses and be cruel to them at the same time. One of those things must not be true. So the logical thing to do is just negate the fact that it's cruel and make up stories that say it's not, and force the entire industry to believe it. So yeah, I don't know. My horse doesn't have ulcers and is not colicking anymore. So I think the change has been for the better, and I think she actually enjoys my presence a little bit more. And that's not to say you can't ride and compete and do things without having a horse that actually enjoys you, but I think that there are ways to do it that are more humane than what the industry currently does. Speaking of which, keep an eye out on my YouTube channel, Family and Friends, or Mom and Friends, and because I filmed Controversial Tack Talk number 3. It's coming out, and I'm afraid, but I have to edit it. It's like a lot of footage. It's probably going to be ridiculously long, but it's fine. I'll get there eventually. I want to make sure that I got the rest of your email, Catherine. Yeah, so, I mean, she said he didn't stop for at least 5 minutes yawning. It was probably him trying to calm down. I'm sure the saddle was stressing him out, given his history that you explained. Obviously, I can't know for sure because I don't know the horse and I don't know the rider. I don't know his history. And the only way that I could know for sure would be to be there and involved for a lengthy amount of time. But my best guess would be that he's experiencing some stress around riding and saddling, which would make perfect sense if he has kissing spine and has been ridden and therefore probably experienced pain while somebody's been on him. So, yeah, I think it's totally manageable. I did it with Zoe while she had kissing spine, so I'm going to have to redo it again. But it was actually really helpful for me because I noticed that despite having trained her, when I started riding her more, she got sore, and I noticed her back twitching before I put the saddle on, like she was bracing for it, and her facial expression was not like calm and carefree. It was like a little bit concerned, and I could tell she was trying to like do the behaviors that I had wanted before, which were to just relax and stand and like just hang out, relaxed face, relaxed ears, no nostrils pulled back. I could tell she was like trying to because it was very subtle, but I could still tell she was uncomfortable. So that's when I started exploring her back pain, and also I really want to use the word behest, but I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what it means. At the behest of one of your suggestions. Just take it. I'll look it up later. But yeah, so I would say he's probably experiencing some anxiety that it's going to hurt, and you're doing the best you can. I would recommend if, I can't remember, I forget where you guys are at. I feel like you posted about it on Twitter, and I forget all the details, but yeah, I would hold off riding. I mean, you can keep doing groundwork, obviously, but I would really work on making it known that the saddle isn't going to cause him pain. And it's really tricky with rehab because they're going to get sore. Like when you do get back on, you know, they have to adjust. And just like us working out, it's going to induce some soreness. So I would I've talked about it in previous episodes, and a lot about saddle fit and how to get over girthiness and break it down and make the saddle a really good thing. You just have to make sure that the horse is actually comfortable, and you have to listen to them if they're telling you it's too much, pinning their ears and giving you those calming signals that are showing that they're experiencing some stress. You should probably take it down a step and wait until they tell you that they're okay progressing. And that can be done pretty easily by just, listening to them, going at their pace, and rewarding them for relaxing and exhibiting the behaviors that you would like. Again, the only tricky thing is that you don't want to train them to not express that they're experiencing some discomfort. So, yeah, with that, I think I'm going to proceed to the rest of the question. We test rode him in them, and he went well despite being apprehensive about me standing on the mounting block. He wants to back away. I'm hoping it's a learned behavior. I think so as well. Probably the same thing as the saddle fit. He's just experiencing some anxiety because it has hurt in the past. I wouldn't be discouraged, but you will have to work on it. I mean, maybe it can be a fun thing to teach him to ask him. I find that it is really beneficial to teach a horse to line up to the mounting block and to like with Zoe, I can teach a hip target, and that way I know if I ask her to line up to the mounting block, she knows what's going to happen. She knows I'm going to get on. And so if she says no, then I know something is wrong, because she usually says yes and will do it and is happy to. So on the day that she doesn't, after a history of lining up and being happy to, I know we need to investigate something and something is wrong. So yeah, and one of my favorite quotes, I have no idea who said it first, but I heard it first from Mosey Truitt, who does the In the Spirit of Horse podcast. She said that, she was talking about consent, which was a really hard topic for me to swallow regarding horses, in the same way that emotions were, but that, like, you can't get a true yes from your horse unless you respect the no's. And everybody goes, well, how can I train my horse if he just says, because he's just going to say no? Well, you have to make the training good enough that he'll say yes. And that's what I've really been working on the past couple of years with Zoe, and that's what I'm working on with all the baby horses, and they are so game to participate because they are itchy everywhere. So you have to make the training something that the horse enjoys, and that way you get real yeses. And they learn how to play the game, and they learn that if they do what you ask successfully and they solve the puzzle, then they get snacks. And it's very enriching and thought-provoking for them, and it's just, I could go on all day about it, and I should probably shut up. Hey, speaking of shutting up, I would pet you, but you will. Your mouth is still open. Archibald. Okay, I have to pet him. I'm positively reinforcing your behavior. Anyway, so yeah, I think you're on the right track, Kat. You just need to, take it slow and break it down at his rate. Maybe read the learning or language signs and calming signals of horses. That makes things a little bit easier, because if you can catch those signs, then you can back up before you get too far, But yeah, I think you got it. I know you're smart and anal like I am, and you'll think about it to death and make sure that it's done well. Okay. Next question. This one is a little bit long. I'm going to get a drink of water. A cat is going to meow at me. Please get down. Your claws are very sharp on my legs. He says, but I really want pets. Do you want to come up here? Archie, come here. Whoa. Okay. Now he's on my lap. If you're going to be here, you must be silent. Okay. Anonymous patron asks, my horse is okay, also, hold. I want to say, if you don't tell me in your message that you would like your name mentioned, or you wouldn't, I'm just going to assume you want it to be anonymous. So please let me know if you want it to be anonymous or if you want your name said. It doesn't matter to me either way, but it is nice to break it up and not just be like, well, anonymous number one. But totally up to you. And also let me know if you're at a higher tier if you want it to not be on the podcast. Okay, so anonymous patron asks, my horse is reasonably established with positive reinforcement, and we're currently working on more complex behaviors, starting him on the ground, working under saddle, positive reinforcement. So number one, recently, as in the last 2 sessions, he has started pawing at the ground, assuming out of frustration. And last session, he kicked out at me, not at me, at the air, when I asked him for a foundation behavior with a high reinforcement rate. Do you mean history? A high reinforcement history if it's a foundation behavior? Or were you reinforcing? That's okay. I'm going to explain why my hang up is on that, because if he kicked out when you asked for a foundation behavior that had a high reinforcement rate, it might not have been quick enough if it had been really fast previously. You can't be on the table. Oh, wow, your butthole is crusty. That's gross. Rubbed on my arm. I hated that. Anyway, clean you're a cat. That's like your one and only job, Archibald. Anyway, okay, I'm assuming you mean high reinforcement history. He literally did the behavior, hip targeting to a stick that we always use and he has no negative association with, but rushed it and then did a little kick out. My deduction that given it's winter here, he's more hungry and is rushing to get the food and is impatient with the process, so I'm starting to give him his feed before sessions instead of after, as well as alternating between scratches and treats, which are low-value chaff pellet as reinforcer. Just wondering if there's anything else that I missed here that could be the issue, or reasonable to assume that it's a source of frustration. So I want to say that I really like this question, because you have not only hypothesized about the question, you have adjusted for it and tried to set up the environment, which is just the best hallmark of a Lima trainer, which is least intrusive, minimally aversive. You can look up the humane hierarchy, which there's some argument over that, but it's a good basis, where you start with the environment, setting up the training location for success. Training a new behavior at a racetrack, not a good idea. There's a lot going on. It's going to be very distracting. So set the environment up for success. I love what you're doing. If you think he's getting a little food anxious, feeding before is always a good idea. Satiation? Oh my God, I'm having a stroke. He's been sated. He's full. That's what we'll go with. So if he's full going into it, he's not going to be as motivated with the food. But I also have another hypothesis that it could be. So a similar thing actually happened to me with Zoe the other day, and I got it on film, and I think I posted it on Twitter because I did not want to post it on Instagram because it's not totally positive reinforcement accepting yet, and I feel like people would have been like, see, this is why positive reinforcement is dangerous. But what happened was me and Zoe were having a really high energy session. I was having her do a lot of trotting, and she was like really feeling herself. Like she was lifting up through her shoulders and rounding her neck, and like looked really awesome. And so I kind of like went a little bit, I asked for too much. And I knew she was getting over aroused. And no, I don't mean it in the naughty sense, but in the sense that she's just like getting really excited, and it's like really salient because she started nickering at me while I was working with her, and I noticed she's been doing that more recently because I have not been working with her as frequently. So she gets really excited when I do work with her, and it makes her vocal. And that's a sign that she's getting over-aroused, and that is what led to what happened. And I knew she was, over threshold in excitement because she was nickering at me the whole time. And if you don't know, I like the little sound they make where they're like, ha. Yep, that's the one. Anyway, so I then went to walk around behind her because I think she changed sides on me and cut me off, and sometimes it's easier if I just go behind her to reset, because then I'm not like in front of her and she's not gonna back up, I don't know if that makes any sense. But when I went to walk around behind her, I was in the place where I normally cue a hip target, and she just guessed, and she assumed that I wanted a hip target, so she hopped sideways, and I thought she kicked out at me until I looked at the footage, and I was like, oh, okay. But it was really cute, actually, to watch, because she saw me walk behind her, and she looked at me, and then she just, did, kind of a little kicked her heels up thing, but jumped to the side like a hip target. And it was very well done. It was very balanced. And you can watch it on Twitter. My handle is JETEquiTheory, but she just was overexcited. So that's what I'm thinking may have happened here, anonymous patron, is that maybe your horse was getting a little overexcited, especially maybe if he was hungry and wanting food. And it's a behavior that he knows pretty well. Like for Zoe, she really likes hip targeting. She's very good at it. And she gets big rewards when she does it because it's a harder behavior. So I always reward heavily for it. And given all the other information that you said, hip targeting, and he's no negative association. So it might have been frustration, or it might have been over arousal. I don't know. You said he was pawing before. And that is a sign of frustration usually. The horse is impatient or confused. And usually I would take a step back and work on really calm, relaxed, easy behaviors like head lowering or just standing still. And something that the horse is good at that doesn't require any movement, like hip targeting is quite a bit of movement. So maybe something that's like really low energy. Like if I were a better trainer, when Zoe was getting really enthusiastic and hyper and nickering at me when she was doing the trot, I probably would have brought it back down, because training needs balance. So for as many behaviors as you're doing that are, Archie, oh my God, he just cannot get comfortable. As many behaviors that you're doing that are forward and energetic, you need to balance out with relaxed behaviors. The horse needs to know how to go up in energy and come back down, and that's what I should have done in my session. Obviously, I wasn't here for this patron session, but it really does make the difference, and then you don't get those potentially dangerous situations where you have your horse hopping at you with their hind end, and you're like, oh my God, I'm about to die. So no, you cannot get on the desk. So yeah, I think it's totally reasonable to assume that it might be frustration. I would make those changes that you talked about, maybe lowering the value of the reinforcer, feeding him before, and for some horses, it can just take a while to, get really comfortable and know the deal with positive reinforcement. Even if they've been doing it for a few months, you're talking about, you're working on more complex behaviors and he's pretty well established, which is great. But sometimes, you have to make those small changes like reinforcement value and, wow, train of thought just hit a wall on that one. You can't talk. I'm talking. He says, I have thoughts too, Jill. Anyway, yeah, I think you're doing the right thing. I think you're on the right track. Again, like it could be the over-arousal or over-excitement about food, and both of those could actually be happening at the same time. He's hungry and he's frustrated and he's really excited and over the top because he really wants the treat. So, it could be both. It could be neither. We don't know, but I think you're on the right track with the changes that you're making. And if after you make those changes and if nothing changes, sorry, I hate to say that again, then it's probably not frustration like we thought. So you might have to try doing a different training order, or oh my God, Archie, or training at a different time. Or changing the way that you train. I mean, you might be asking too much too quickly. That's frustrating him. There are any number of things. Or maybe potentially something that you're asking is painful. That's something else that I probably should have said off the bat, since I decided to talk about the humane hierarchy. Maybe he has like a hip is out or a rib is out, or he's got some SI pain, and when he moves laterally like that, when he reaches his back leg out sideways, it causes some pain, and then he's retaliating a little bit. There could be any number of things. So I would start with the cheaper option, which is to keep working on it and see if you can adjust what time you work with them around feed time and the salience of what you're working with, the reinforcer. But yeah, okay, so question number 2 for this patron is, I'm also finding that he's rushing to offer new behaviors, which I assume is part of the same issue. I would agree. Continuing here, as usually he's quite methodical and just really thinks about what I'm asking and how to respond. I'm just waiting until he stops or gently correct the behaviors, the offered behaviors, i.e. if the horse moves his shoulders towards me, I asked him to yield them back to the original position and then start again. And then clearly ask for the behavior again to make sure I'm clicking and treating for any small effort to make my requests, sorry, I'm blowing on a bug, clear, okay. And then clearly ask for their behavior again, make sure I'm clicking and treating for any small effort to make my request clear and highly reinforced for him. Again, I'm wondering if I've missed anything here or if there's a better, clearer way for me to correcting these issues, or am I on the right track? It's so hard finding decent info about troubleshooting positive reinforcement issues with horses beyond the basics given the shortage of trainers. I feel you. I find myself going to dog resources half of the time. Yes, same. Update, I'm 95% sure he's sore. Oh my God. I even copied and pasted that into my notes and didn't even think about it until I just read that. There you go. Having a body worker out for him, so I'm finding any advice you have. Feel free to ignore this message if it negates it. So that was going to be my point with question number 2. I was like, if he's normally really methodical and quiet, what changed? Like, something's different. And he, like, horses are horses. It's possible he rolled and threw something out, or he slipped and fell, or he got bucking and running and playing and took a wrong step, or threw something out. Who knows? The other day, the chiropractor and body worker came out, and Zoe was really sore up on her back, like kind of over her flank, but towards her barrel. And I was like, what? And like, she was like not having it with the chiropractor, and I had to like really reinforce her for standing still while the chiropractor was working on her, and she was very worried the whole time. And I was like, I'm so sorry. It'll make you feel better. So who knows? Because Zoe has just been existing in a paddock. So I don't know what she gets up to, but they are very good at injuring themselves. So I think that is probably what you're working with here. It could be painful for him to move around. And that would be my best guess for why it has changed so abruptly. As for what you mentioned with the incorrect behaviors, so I watched something the other day. I forget. It might have been Mustang Maddie's story post, whom I love, by the way. She is absolutely incredible, and I wish she would make a freaking podcast because she talks so much on her stories, and I would just love to listen to them on a podcast. And she has some really interesting stories and points of view, and I really respect her as a horsewoman and an advocate, and it's just fantastic. But I think it was her. I could be totally wrong, but she posted about like the incorrect behaviors and correcting horses and stuff like that. And God, I don't even know why I'm talking about it because I can't really remember what she said. But it gave me an interesting perspective because I do the same thing. And even today when I was working with Zoe, she changes sides so bad. Like if I'm trying to do a Liberty Circle, we get to the part of the field that's like going towards the barn, and she'll switch to the side that's farthest from the barn. So like think about a square, and on either side there are paddocks, and then at one end there's a barn, and at the other end there's woods. And so we're going around in a circle. At the woods side, she kind of drifts towards the woods and is out on like a perfect distance for me. Like it's like, I don't know, maybe like a yard or 2 yards away from me. Love it. And then when we start going towards the barn, she cuts in and like positions herself to where it's still her than me than the barn, if that makes sense. So she's still closer to the woods than I am. And it's really frustrating when I'm trying to do a circle. And I find myself correcting her and asking her to move her shoulders back over. I do the same thing. But whoever posted that, I really think it was Maddie, really got me thinking about correction. And because it's kind of the same mentality, like if the horse walks forward and you back them up because they entered your space, and then you use backing as a punishment, it's kind of that same mentality. Obviously it's softer and they're still getting rewarded, but you're like, nope, wrong horse, go back to where you were, get out of my space. And I think there's a different way to approach it. I'm going to have to think on that a little bit more because that's something I want to be cognizant of in my training, because there's obviously a reason she's doing it. All behavior exists because of reinforcement history and for a reason. So there's something that is making her change sides, because I have done the same thing. I have worked incrementally. I have tried not to increase too quickly. I have tried to ask for small steps, but still for some reason I'm going to have to try like cones or reintroducing a target stick to follow. She just tends to get really angry about target sticks. She chases them, but she's been better about it. It's just like, I'd rather just not use one. I don't like carrying things. But it could be a useful training tool, and we can fade it out eventually. Anyway, I'm trying to cover all my bases so I don't say anything offensive. Because I know some people love using target sticks all the time. And I start everybody with a target stick. I just don't like having them on me all the time. It's just personal preference. Just like I don't like using a handheld clicker. I use my sound, and but I don't know. I use a handheld clicker for other animals like my dog and my cat. But just for horses, I just like being hands-free. The only problem with that sound is it's not very loud, and if the horse is in like arena sand and they're trotting, it's hard to hear. But luckily my horse is unrideable, so we're getting there. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. I like that you said, I'm wondering if I've missed anything here, if there's a clearer, better way for me to be correcting these issues, or am I on the right track? Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think I essentially answered that. I think it's up to you and how you would like to train. Me personally, I do the same thing, and I am thinking that that's something that I maybe want to change, and not be so correction oriented, I guess, because that still is not that all traditional mindsets and ideas need to be weeded out, but it's something that kind of perpetuates that alpha, I'm the leader status. You're not doing what I'm asking you to do. It also makes you as the trainer frustrated, because it's really frustrating for me when Zoe switches sides on me, and I'm like, oh my God, how many times do we have to do this? But there's something that is telling her to keep doing that, and that's what I need to address, not the fact that she's doing the wrong behavior over and over again. I need to address the reason, not the symptom. I hope that makes sense, and I'm explaining that well. But I think that pretty much answers that question. Oh my God, we're at an hour. And that is the difference in podcast gel and Adderall. We are very thorough. Okay, so I'm going to take one more drink of water, and we're going to get into the last question. I got to crush it. Sorry for your ears. Yeah, I'm a real bro. Crush my water bottles. That's just so I don't have to go to the dump as often. Also, don't come at me for using water bottles. I hate it, and I want to stop, but I have well water, and filter systems do not work on it, and it smells like eggs, and it's disgusting, and I have a problem. Wally, what are you doing? He said, I'm being crazy. I'm chasing Archie. Okay. Our final anonymous patron. Dun da da da. Are you ready? Are you ready? Whoop. And that would be my cat galloping into my bathroom. Okay. Question reads, I lease an OTTB gelding, and he is amazing. His name is Sky, and he's 16 years old. He's truly an amazing horse, but has been refusing a good amount lately. It has definitely lowered my confidence, and I was wondering if you have any advice about anything that may help. We rearranged our jumping arena, so that may be a part of the problem, but since I have only been riding a year, I am still new to all this and definitely not the most experienced. I will take any advice or criticism. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much for all your help. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Okay, so yeah, also a lot of you have sent me really, really sweet messages about the podcast and your stories with your horses and stuff, and it is absolutely heartwarming, and I really appreciate you guys sending me all of the stories and how the podcast and my training has impacted you. It makes my day, and it makes me feel like I'm not shouting into the void. So thank you to those of you who say kind things to me. I appreciate it because I am insecure. Anyway, so to answer your question, I would say that it's kind of hard to answer because I don't have enough information. What type of jumps is he refusing? Hey, settle down. What type of jumps is he refusing at? Does his saddle fit? Is he sore somewhere? That's usually the first place I would go. I mean, I talked about the humane hierarchy. Environment is number one. If he's a little uncomfortable because the arena's changed, maybe flat him in there for a week or 2 weeks and just do flat work and don't jump. Just work around them. Let him get comfortable with it. If you can, maybe just turn him out in there or turn him out with a buddy so he's not like totally psyched out. Those are some possible solutions. It depends on your barn and what you're allowed to do. But yeah, that could be a potential solution. If after you've like flattened him for a week and he's still refusing, I don't know. I would also consider the vet prior to riding extensively. Maybe have a chiropractor out and see if he's out somewhere or if he's sore. Or a body worker. They're usually pretty good, body workers and chiropractors at finding where the horse is sore, and then that can give you an indication of like where to look for pain. So like if they're sore on their, if they're sore on their right shoulder, but they're really tight on their left one, something could be going on in the right leg or foot. that is making them overcompensate with that opposite leg, and it's really tight over there because they're putting a lot of their weight on it. It can give you a lot of hints. But usually horses refuse because they're either confused, in pain, or afraid. And I can't think of really any other reason that they would refuse. I could be totally wrong, and that could be overly simplistic. But usually I think it's pretty much one of those three. They're either afraid of the jump or afraid of jumping. It could be difficult and confusing to manage their bodies like that. And you might need to lower the fences, take it back a step. I would probably do that anyway if he is a little bit finicky about the arena changing. But, I mean, at 16 years old, usually horses are pretty adjusted to their surroundings. Some horses, any change, if you put the wheelbarrow in a different place than usual, it can scare them, no matter the age. However, usually 16-year-old horses are like pretty chill and like got a good handle that things are not always the same. And they've been a lot of places, seen a lot of things, had a lot of experiences. But to consider that he is an OTTB and he is 16, he could be experiencing some pain. That would be the route that I would go. Usually if horses start stopping, maybe if he's cross-cantering behind or having trouble picking up his lead or really lethargic, not going forward, that could be a sign of hocks. He might need his hocks or his stifles done. I forget which one it is. There's like a key, like if they're weird at the trot, it's stifles, and if they're weird at the canter, it's hocks. I don't know. There's some information on that out there somewhere. That's like I guess like a cheat sheet, but who knows? And the wonderful thing is, like, things like kissing spine can cause hock problems, like it did for Zoe. So it could also be that. Kissing spine is rampant among thoroughbreds and racehorses and things of that nature. I think it's probably due to genetics, conformation issues, potentially being started incorrectly. Like, not that the training is necessarily bad, but just being like inverted and not working over their top line because they're baby horses that are designed to run. Sometimes that can cause some issues with their spine and make them spinal processes kiss. It's called overriding spinal processes. I forget what the other term is. There's one that's like less severe that just means they're like touching. But yeah, so that could be something to explore. I would probably have a body worker or a chiropractor out and point me in the right direction of where to start. But sometimes, especially thoroughbreds that have run before or have had competition careers prior to you riding them, even just general riding really can be hard on a horse, especially if they have conformation issues or their feet sit a certain way or their shoes were too heavy. Like, endless amounts of variables can cause pain and arthritis. Thoroughbreds do tend to be kind of like, I feel like Arabs are the poodles. What are thoroughbreds? I don't know. They're just a little bit finicky and delicate. So you have to just keep up with that. He might need a joint supplement. He might need just a little bit of help to get him back going and comfortable. Mad props to you for recognizing this and not just being like, yep, I have to beat him over the fence and make him do it because he's being disrespectful and he should jump. And I completely disagree with that. And I love that you are a new rider and you're thinking about this and you're concerned for the horse and you're wanting to do the best by him. I am a firm believer that animals do not just act up because they want to. I think they usually have a pretty good reason, because horses are bred and designed to work with humans. And I think that we should take that responsibility seriously and help them exist in the human world as best and calmly and with as much understanding as possible. So I would say that you probably just need to have him looked at. Make sure he's not sore anywhere. Make sure his shoes are on correctly. Doesn't have a hot nail or anything. I don't know. There are endless possibilities, and that's why I'm saying like body work is probably your best starting point. Body worker body worker. I mean like Zoe has a muscle therapist, and so do I. Only because I am helping her with her website and social media and things of that nature. So that is the only way I can afford that. But yeah, she is fantastic and is very good at listening to the body and knowing how to release all that tension. And it was so cool the last time she came out, because the past couple of times she's been here, I think this most recent time was her third or fourth time. And the times before that, Zoe just fought her the whole time she was running me over, would not stand still. And I hate to give her treats because Cammie, my body worker, she is looking for relaxation signs, dropping her head or sighing or some hard blinking. Like there are a bunch of like little signs that can indicate relaxation from releasing tension, like if you've ever looked at the Masterson method or anything like that. So I kind of hate to like be giving her snacks the whole time, but sometimes she just won't stand because it's uncomfortable and it hurts. And it's so weird because Cammie has like a little bit more than a feather light texture. Oh my god, what is the word? I'm blanking so hard. That's how I know it's time to go to bed. Feather light pressure on Zoe, maybe just a little bit more, and it's an acupressure point usually, and helping the fascia. I don't even know what the term is. Man, I've spent like all day working on her website and writing about this stuff, and I forgot. But just to like get her body all moving in the same direction essentially and unlocked. And the past couple of times Zoe just was so bad and bad in the sense that it was behavior that I did not like, but she was just expressing, this is very uncomfortable, I don't know what this lady's doing, it doesn't feel good, blah blah blah. This most recent time was really cool because she looked drugged and I was just holding her the whole time and she's just hanging out. Her eyes were closed. All the blood was rushing to her head because it was so low. Like, she looked drugged. She was just chilling. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that horse with the, like, sagging bottom lip. And it was just so relaxed, just hanging down, just chilling. Her ears are out to the side. And I was like, Cammie, what did you do? And she was like, I didn't do anything. I'm just doing my thing over here. And I was like, this is crazy. I could not get over it because she's never like that. And I was talking to Cammie and I was like, this is so weird because this is arguably the most anxious, tense horse on the farm. And she was like, I agree. Because she's worked on a lot of our horses out here and Zoe is by far the most interesting case. But she just holds so much of her tension. And it's funny because she like won't let go of it until we walk away. So after we leave her, you hear all the big sighs and blowing out her nose and shaking her body and like loosening things up. But that time she did all of that with us and we were like, oh my god, progress. She's finally trusting Cammie and me and relaxing, and it was a really good moment. So it can be really powerful to get that stuff done. Yeah, what time are we at here? We're at 1 hour and 13 minutes. Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna wrap her up there. Been talking for a long time, but today has been a really long one because I woke up and forgot that I was supposed to be 1 hour away from here and I had 30 minutes to get ready, so I did that. And for some of you, you may be like, ha, Jill, that's so much time. I could have slept in for 15 more minutes. That's not how I work. I have very bad acne at the moment and lots of ugly bumps on my face that I'm trying desperately to get rid of, and I know nobody else probably cares, but I hate them and I want them off my face. So I am I have to have something on, gotta get ready, and it takes me a long time to like get going and awake. So got up and ended up being like 10 minutes late, and then worked with her and her pony for a couple hour or an hour and a half, and then I drove the hour back, and then I got here and worked on online stuff from 11 until like 7 or 8 p.m. Like I worked all day long. I took breaks, but I just was so just trying to get all my stuff done. And yeah, I have so much more to do. I have so many videos to edit. I think I filmed a breeches collection video, oh God, what is it called? A controversial tack talk part 3, and there's a third one. Oh, my tattoos and piercings video. So be on the lookout for those and subscribe to me on YouTube. But hopefully I'm going to get those edited in the next couple of days. I also have to do my homework at some point because I have been doing everything else and working with all of the baby ponies. Oh my God, Azula she's so good. I was talking to Sunny and I was like, it's so funny. Sunny's my boss, by the way, if you don't know. I was like, it's so funny because we've had Azula for like, maybe a month, 2 months, a month, I think. I don't know. And she knows how to pick up all 4 feet, how to halter, and how to lead. And the other babies know how to halter. And Sterling, the Appaloosa, doesn't even know how to halter because I have not touched him because I have a thing with him and his mom. They're just not my favorite animals. But I worked with them today, and they were so good. Both of them were so relaxed and allowed me to actually, like, get somewhere instead. Because he was just, like, being a little unpredictable. His mom came from a kill pen, and from the looks of it, a very abusive circumstance before. And she just acts like she did not have a good life. She's very shut down and, like, does not care about anything and will run you over. And so naturally her child has either been modeled to or inherited that anxiety. So he's a little bit wiggy and unpredictable, and that nothing bothers me more than unpredictability. And I know people say that horses are super unpredictable. No, they're not. They're absolutely not unpredictable. If you don't know them, they are. But those two, they are unpredictable because they go over thresholds so fast and it's hard to catch it. But I'm working with them more, but it's just Azula is obviously my favorite and I love her. And actually some really exciting thing that I can't believe I haven't said anything about yet. I actually talked to Sunny the other night, so I have to do laundry at her house now. And I was talking to her and I was like, I just hate it because I am going to be working with Azula and teaching her positive reinforcement, and then she's going to go off to the track and nobody's going to do that. And she was like, well, maybe you could break her yourself. And I was like, that is an interesting thing that you just said. And so she might not be leaving because, like, that would mean she would have to leave in the November of her, is it 2-year-old year? 3-year-old? No, I'm pretty sure it's the November of her 2-year-old year before she turns 3 in January. Because that's normally when they go off to get broke to ride and start race training. And she was like, that way she could stay with us for a couple more months and you can break her yourself, which would be really cool. I want to preface by saying that obviously not a huge fan of breaking that early. I would really rather not, but out of the two evils, I would rather break her myself than have somebody else do it, because I think I can do it, pretty sure, and I just think she'd have a better experience that way than just being gotten on in a stall and then whatever happens. I know they do it pretty kindly, because I keep saying I'm really sorry. Sunny's trainer is a really kind, gentle trainer, and they do everything by code. They do not drug their horses. They do not run them past what their bodies can handle. And oh my God, I keep saying I'm so sorry. So sorry. So they're really good at being kind and listening to the horse, and if they're showing any signs of discomfort or soreness, Sunny pulls them immediately, and they either get rehab, the surgery they need, or brought home. And now my stance on racing is I really wish they weren't started that early, but other industries are not exempt. Look at eventing and the 3-year-old classes and the future event horse, all the free jumping. In our industry, there are 4-year-olds running prelim. Huh? No, because you have to be running like at least novice as a 3-year-old to get there, and that's just so bad for the animal. It's worse than racing, in my opinion, to be jumping a young horse that high, because those horses, it's just, it's also often not done by people who build them up correctly. But in racing, at least it's a small, light person that's riding them. And I know Sonny's trainer, and he is a super kind man, and Sonny does not let them do any of the racetracky things like ear twitching or anything like that. And obviously not all race trainers and jockeys and grooms do those sorts of things, but it is pretty common. And so I would just rather be able to break her myself, and she would be my first, which would be really dope because I've never done it before. I think I can. She is progressing so quickly, and I'm learning how to read her. And by then, I mean, that's a whole like over a year and a half away from now. So it's plenty of time to keep developing our relationship and building that trust and making her really confident. And by then it'll be a game, and then she'll be like, oh, what are we doing today? And she'll be really excited for what's coming and trying to guess the right answer. And it won't be quite so scary because it won't just be like she got in a trailer one day and went somewhere random and now there are people climbing on her back. So hopefully it will go better, and hopefully I'll be around to do the same for Astro and Dexter, who will not be broken until much later because they are warm bloods, and warm bloods tend to take a little bit longer to reach full height. I'm pretty sure Sonny wants to break them at the end of their 3-year-old year, which I'm still kind of like pushing for, like, let's wait until 4 at least. But yeah, I hate that Azula has to get broken sooner, but it would be nice to do it myself because then I would know how she was trained, and then she'll go race and hopefully she will suck, and then she will have to come home. Part of me wants her to do well because it would just like, because she's awesome and I think that would be cool, but the other part of me is like, don't really love the idea of her getting hit with a whip a ton. But currently she is not my horse, so I do not have a say in whether or not she races. I don't have a choice. She will race. And so I would rather be the one to break her if she has to get broken that early. I hope I'm making that clear. And yeah, so I'm excited about that because I think it'll be fun, and it'll be a really cool little notch in my bridle there. I don't know how you say it in terms of horse. But yeah, I don't know. Just kind of want to update you guys on that. She's coming along so well, and I'm probably not going to teach her to do much more because she is still like 6 months old. But just being able to lead is nice because our other 2 babies do not know how to lead. They just paw and attack the lead rope the whole time. So they're going to have to work on it. But if you want to see how I have been training her, I do have a training video series all up on my YouTube. It's under Azula, and it's a whole playlist of the first haltering sessions from day 1 until I got the halter on, and then her leading sessions and picking up all 4 feet. And all of them were done in like 1 session, except for the haltering, because she was really no shy when we got her. Also, she was feral. But for the leading and the picking her feet up, both of those were done in like under 15-minute sessions, which is wild. She's so smart. And also, she has a good trainer. I'm kidding. But she is really helping me learn, because I've never had to teach a horse how to do any of that. Never had to teach a horse how to like lead or pick up their feet. Haltering, I did have to work on that with Mac, and I taught Zoe to self-halter and them plus Flit to self-bridle. But like just haltering in general, when they've never had something on their face before, it's been a really cool experience to work with. So yeah, I think that just about covers everything that I want to say. I will hopefully be doing some videos with the boys soon, but kind of just am enjoying my little Zuzu bean and my Zazu bean. And yeah, so now I'm actually going to wrap it up. If you want, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, all at JETEquiTheory. You can support this podcast at patreon.com/JetRealPodcast. You can also get there from my website, which is just JETEquiTheory.com. And you can listen to this podcast anywhere that you would like to. And if you are unable to become a Patreon, no worries. These podcasts still have ads, so you're still helping put food on my microwave. So I appreciate you listening and being there for me. Again, I want to apologize one last time for the let's call it what it is, a fuck up on the medication ADHD thing. I hope that I have assuaged some concerns on that front. I did not mean what it sounded like. But yeah, I hope the training questions also helped, and I hope that you guys stay tuned. I will stop talking now, and I'll talk to you again on Tuesday. Just if you're okay, like if you want to, but like don't worry about it. If like it's okay if you don't, like you can be honest if you don't want to, but it'll be on Tuesday. Like just okay. Oh, one more thing. The live stream. If you want, this month this will go live on Tuesday, so you have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. At 5 p.m. on Friday is when I will be doing the live stream. So it'll be the first one. I'll be able to answer your training questions, and I'll post the link at 4 so everybody is ready and prepared. It'll be my first one, so there might be some rocky bumps, but hopefully we will all get there. It'll just be made as a post on Patreon, so I hope we're all on the same page. If you do have any questions or concerns, feel free to message me on Patreon or DM me, or shoot me an email. Probably just shoot me an email. I answer my emails faster than DMs. Okay, now I'm actually going to stop talking. Oh, wait, follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram also. It's Chat Real Podcast. Okay, now I'm done talking. Thank you. I'll catch you guys next Tuesday. Have a good one.